Hey guys, T2 out here. Welcome back to the Time Preparedness channel. So for today's video, I just wanted to do a few quick comments on some of the comments that I've seen on my 1 second after lessons learned videos. I recommend that everyone read that book at least once. Try to read it twice if you can. The first time you read it is for entertainment purposes. The second time you read it should be for educational purposes. Put yourself in that situation. It is a fantastic read. It is a fantastic book. Recently, that video has garnered a lot of attention. It has garnered a lot of comments, a lot of views, which I am grateful for. So every once in a while, you will receive a comment that will puzzle you, conflict you, make you think. So that's what I want to do for today's video, is talk about two of the comments that I recently received on that video in question. So the first one is this one. I don't know what book this guy read. I don't know if he read the same book that I did, because in the first couple sentences he says that, hey, this is not how the way the real situation would play out. The communities would come together. Well, in the book, 1 second after, that's exactly what happens. The community of Black Mountain, North Carolina comes together. Yeah, you have your outliers every now and again, but for the most part, most people are focused on survival of a whole, of a group. You know, that's why you have the Black Mountain Militia. That's why you have, you know, the college students who take up arms to defend the property. You have everyone working in the farms, working in the fields. You have everyone out hunting, out gathering for the greater good, for the community. So I'm not sure what book he read, but I don't know if it's the same one. We're going to pretend like it is. So as we all know, an EMP is very unlikely, but in the prepper community, it is our Hitler. It is our biggest, greatest threat for some unknown reason. So as you can see further down in the comment, the guy says that this is not how it would play out in the real world. The government would bring the people to the food, or bring the food to the people. Now again, this is after an EMP has occurred. So all of your transportation is down. All of your machinery is down. Do you understand how the farming industry works? It's all based on machines. It's all based on $200,000, $300,000, $500,000 tractors, because we have these big, massive farmlands. If those tractors don't run, the seeds aren't put in the ground. The pesticides aren't put out. The crops don't get pulled up from the ground. So in this comment, the guy says that we would either bring the people to the food or the food to the people. So let's go off with the first one, right? Bring the people to the food. Let's say this event does occur and you're at home for a few weeks, maybe a month, maybe 2 months, maybe 3 months. And then some dude comes knocking on your door in a Humvee or an LMTV or some sort of troop transport vehicle. And he says, listen, you have no choice. You have to get in my vehicle. You have to leave your guns. You have to leave all your stuff. And you have to come out west with me because I have food. Are you going to get in that vehicle? Probably not. Is it going to be a war to put people in that vehicle? Absolutely. Because I know many people who will not evacuate during hurricane scenarios. But you're telling me after a month, after 2 months, after 3 months, with zero government assistance, you're just going to hop in the first vehicle you see and head out west? What are you going to do when you get out there? Yeah, you might have a meal, but then what? You're not familiar with the area. You have no family out there. So you're out there and you're going to freeze to death during the winter. So the idea of gathering up all of these people and taking them by train, by bus, by plane out west somewhere where the food isn't happening. So now the other one, they're going to bring the food to the people. I can give you a million different scenarios on how the government has failed to bring food to the people. Need one example? Look at Puerto Rico. The United States government, the federal government, sent food and water to the people of Puerto Rico. A year later, food and water was found sitting on a tarmac because they had no logistical way to send it to the actual people. They got it to the people of Puerto Rico, but the local governments could not divvy it out. Now, that was a hurricane. You're talking about an EMP. The vehicles don't work. The machinery doesn't work. The factories don't work. But you trust the government to take care of you. Buddy, if you believe that the government will take care of you, send me a blank check and I will sell you some oceanfront property in Arizona. So the second comment that I want to discuss is this one right here. It talks about if John knew that an EMP had occurred, why did he wait so late to go get supplies? So on day one, John's out with his family, they're doing a cookout, the EMP occurs. And he basically knows at that point in time that yes, this EMP just hit, our world has changed. On day two, he goes into town and he picks up his smokes and he's telling the town council, hey, this is what I believe happened, and I'm 99% sure that this is what it is. But on day 4, he finally goes into town to get supplies. He picks up insulin for his daughter, he picks up some dog food, and basically whatever else he can find on the shelf. So why did John wait so long? One thing I'm glad is that John wasn't a prepper, because it put a real world perspective on this book. You see, this book would have been a lot more boring had it said an EMP hit and John went downstairs to his basement where he had 10,000 pounds of rice and 365 cans of Spam. So I'm glad that John wasn't a prepper. Now, why did he wait so long? That is a tough question to answer. Now, you can chalk that up to one of 3 things, either ignorance, safety, or knowledge. Ignorance. I know a lot of people who will risk life and limb for their next smoke. We have bad snowstorms around here and people don't know how to drive. People will take their crappy little vehicles and head to town to find a gas station or some sort of store that is opened just to get a pack of smokes during Snowmageddon. While they're there, they could also pick up eggs, milk, and bread, but they choose not to because of ignorance. They are solely focused on that one item, being the smokes, that they forget about all the others. Personally, I've never smoked, but I've been around enough smokers and I know enough of them that I can tell you that when they get focused on where's my next smoke coming from, they forget about where's my next meal coming from. So the fact that John, the main character, made sure he had more smokes than food, yeah, I can see that. I don't agree with it, but I can see where he's coming from, having been around smokers for all of my life. Now, you can also chalk it up to safety. Night number 1, he's got his mother-in-law and his kids at the house. Maybe he didn't want to go into town and risk them not having a father just to get a couple bags of rice or just to get a couple pounds of beef. Or you could mark it up to knowing the situation. You see, like I said, John paid cash for his smokes, but he looted on day 4. He knew that things were going down. He knew that the monetary system was going down. Maybe he only had $50 cash on hand. He went in there, bought his smokes because they were more important to him, and then he said, you know what, I'll go loot whatever I can later, because that's eventually what he ended up doing. Look at any hurricane, tornado situation. People know that they're coming. People understand, hey, I live in Hurricane Alley or I live in Tornado Alley. We're going to get hit with a hurricane tomorrow. But they won't go out to the store and pick up supplies. They'll wait for it to hit and then they'll go rob the bank. They'll go rob the stores. They'll go rob the liquor store. They'll go rob the local convenience store a mile up the street. Why? Why waste money when you can just steal? That's the mentality of it, I guess. You know, hey, you do you, I don't agree with it, but people do it every single year. I mean, there's videos and pictures and stories that come out every year of people looting and robbing after a disaster hit, even though they knew about the disaster 3 weeks in advance. So this brings back the point of just be prepared. Myself and the Unapologetic Prepper have recently been discussing this solution-based prepping. Like I said, this story would have sucked had he been a prepper. He had 10,000 pounds of rice in his basement, but he wouldn't have been starving on day 30 like the viewer had said, he would have had supplies. Now, this event lasts for over a year in this book. Puerto Rico lasted for over a year in some instances on the island. How much food do you need to stockpile? The Unapologetic Prepper recently said in one of his videos, and I'm paraphrasing here, but you cannot hoard your way to success. Now, had John been a prepper and had he had things stockpiled, yes, he would have been more successful. He would have been like that family in the hills in the book, having supplies on hand and not needing assistance from anyone. But he would not necessarily have been successful because eventually that food will run out. But had he found a solution to his prepping, he would have been even more successful. Had John had a little farm with rabbits and chickens and ducks and cows and pigs, he would have been more successful than stockpiling 10,000 pounds of rice and beans. Become a solution-based prepper. Stockpiling and hoarding is great, but eventually it's going to run out. Eventually it's going to go dry. So find solutions for when it does. So guys, I'm not going to do this for every single comment that I get on my videos, but every once in a while I will receive a comment that makes me think or deserves a video response as opposed to just a written response. So hopefully you guys understand. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you haven't checked out my lessons learned part 1 and part 2, they will be below. If you don't have time to read, I will have an audio book linked below as well. It is free right here on YouTube over at Butterbeans Outdoors' channel. So make sure you go check it out, listen to it. Like I said, twice. Entertainment once, education the second time. And put yourself in that situation. So I'm going to ask the question, if a government vehicle pulled up and said, hey, hop on in, we'll take you where the food is, are you going to get in that vehicle? Let me know down below. All right, guys, that's all I got for today. T2 out.